What are you going to do? It's the web we weave. All right, let's get started. And by the looks of it, like I said, I was out for the last hour or so here. I know there was some news, China, Hong Kong, out of the White House. And it looks like, you had a nice fade into the bell. And anytime we get that, believe it or not, you're probably not going to hear it from many, but I think that's a good thing in keeping this rally alive. All right. And if you've been on this webinar recently and you are a member and have had your ears unplugged or paid attention or joined in any of the conversations, this shouldn't surprise you, okay? And if you remember, the webinar last night, the Zoom meeting, the webinar, we kind of discussed how a lot of people were painting everything with a bearish brush, all right? We're, showing a lot of confusion on sentiment and all that, but sentiment has been crystal clear, okay, into what our takeaway should be. Let me do something here. I'll make my life easier so you guys could see it as a reference. Let's try this. Okay. All right. So, and what I mean by that, you were hearing a lot of talk about how the real riffraff out there, like Tweeps know who the real riffraff are. The Robinhood traders, all of them are all gun-ho bullish. They're buying calls left and right. It never ends well, right? Any bearish sentiment you were seeing was hedging and all that stuff. But what sentiment was showing us was pretty cut and dry. It was showing us that there was a nice chunk of the market, a piece of the market that all of us have had a ton of fun trading. A lot of profits have come from a good amount of these names, SE being one of them, one of many, okay, that we've either traded in and out of. Some of you may still be in them, whatever the case. There's been some huge winners out there, okay? And again, not just in FANG stocks, right? Another misleading fact people throw around, same 4 tech stocks driving the market higher. It was a good chunk of the market, new economy, COVID names, software names, big tech, high growth that really caught fire, right? And that's where the best of the sweeper activity has been too, throughout the whole rally, right? We've seen missiles, MDB, AYX, the teams, the Twilios, okay? The D-Dogs, the DKNGs. And what sentiment was showing us, at least my takeaway was from looking it over the weekend, was all the spec money, okay? All the money that started to chase and participate in this market, right, exactly, was in those names, okay? They were too scared to buy a trip for good reason, right? You look at the future of trip, it looks pretty bleak. Me, myself, off the flow, and I've been doing this a while, sometimes I'm questioning why I would buy a trip. I got to be out of my mind, okay? So they were really difficult to buy those names, so for good reason. But what happened was the spec money always comes late to the party. They always show up late, you understand? They always are unaware of what's going on underneath the hood until it becomes obvious. And then when it becomes obvious, they rush in, chase momentum, and think these names are just going to go up every single day, and there's never going to be a pullback or a breather in any of them. All right? So what sentiment was showing us was pretty simple. If you were in these names or like to trade these names, you have to be careful, right? You have to be careful because that's where any participation on the equity side has been in recent days. All right. And that's why, this was just a quick abbreviation of kind of the playbook we went over on the webinar. I apologize. It wasn't recorded for some reason. I have no idea. But so I wrote this up, pretty quickly so you guys get the gist of what we were discussing. So right here. Right? Heat visible, especially in the options market. We're seeing out of sentiment. All right, from spec money in the crowded, hot names. Okay, not one particular sector, different sectors, but you know them. You just have to look at a chart and see them. Okay, so the main thing we wanted to make sure of, we were talking about this last week. I couldn't play any of those last week, and they continued higher. All right, is to be careful. If you're going to play them, you want to try to stick to buying weakness for that red to green type trade, and that's it. Okay, scalps. But to start a position with some time, the risk reward was awful. Awful. Okay, until we see some sort of breather, at the least some sort of consolidation, if not a pullback. All right, so we don't want to overstay our welcome in these extended names. But at the same time, right? At the same time, there were a lot of things that, as far as the backdrop was concerned, it was quite bullish. Okay. Most importantly, and again, you're starting to hear now excuses for this as well, but Sharpies still are long and strong, full blown, right? And the riffraff haven't capitulated one bit. They're short. It's been that way from April 6th when we started talking about it, when the indicators flashed all in on both sides, and they've remained that way all the way up until the most recent update. Okay. On top of that, aside from those crowded areas, okay, everywhere else was the complete opposite. You're talking about no exposure to banks, industrials, tripped, no exposure. So one or two things were bound to happen, okay? Either we get full-fledged rotation, that's what we got today, right? Where money comes out, wasn't even in a drastic way. Some names were a little more drastic than others, but comes out of the crowded stuff and starts to scramble for exposure in the stuff nobody owns, okay? If they refuse to do that, because of the heat on a short-term basis in those crowded names, it could weigh on the indices over the short term. All right, so in simple English, if they weren't going to rotate, if they refuse to rotate into the difficult to own stuff, then the likelihood is we probably have a decent down day today. And maybe for a couple days, hell, maybe for a week. And that would be totally normal. All right. So we actually saw that rotation. We started to see that rotation little by little happen, right? We were seeing action in these names, spec action, shorts covering their rear end type action, in airlines and cruise lines. And today it just, became a frenzy. All right. So now what we're looking for going forward, okay, especially now with, financials, without a doubt. Financials, we were looking, if you remember, we were looking at sector sentiment for the last few weeks, okay? And the main problem, right, for the overall market, okay, the NASDAQ was outperforming, showing strength because of those hot names, okay? Like, for example, MDB, okay, where we were looking at it and some of you owned it, right, off a breather here, wasn't scorched. Now, MDB is a little scorched. It happens quick. Same thing like an AYX, most recent, right? Same thing. Over here, it was not a bad spot. Up here now, pretty hot, okay? So we were looking at the sectors week in, week out, and what we saw yesterday was, right, the shops, the Twilios, all that stuff, scorched. So financials, industrials, utilities, stuff like that was the stuff that basically has chilled out and got to neutral sentiment. Okay, that's where coming into the week. So there are a couple possibilities of what can come out of this now. Okay, because we don't, and you know that coming out of my mouth already, we do not want to chase this rotation now. Okay, that's the bad part of this market this day and age. Everything happens so damn fast, right? That's why I tell you guys, I like to already be in it. Even if I'm early, if I see signs, you know what I mean? Like, for example, a trip. Yeah, I'd rather avoid sitting through a mess if it's possible, but it's so difficult because if you're not early, the likelihood is you're not going to be in it, and then you're chasing. Okay, it's happened time and time again with me, right? If you're treating it with kid gloves and you're not buying at a decent spot off some solid sweeper activity, then the chances are you're never going to get that right spot, more than not. So that's why I like to be early, and then you have the opportunity to roll into this, take some profit or sell into this, right? Like a Twitter, okay? You know, now there are a lot of eyeballs on Twitter, right? When the name, when we started looking at the name, Twitter was a difficult thing to try to own. The stock was a dog. Every pop faded, right? Couldn't get out of its own way. While names like SE and Twilio and Shop and NVIDIA were knocking the cover off the ball, this thing was, you know, a pain in the ass. All right, but the Elliott sweepers and being prepared for the Elliott sweepers tipped us off to possible shift in momentum. And if you weren't in it off Elliott, you had to chase, right? You had to chase. And now you can't buy here, okay? Even though I sold and the chances are it's going higher, because that's what happens when I sell, you still can't buy here. You don't want to get in the habit of buying here, okay? You want to get in the habit of buying when it first starts to catch action, less eyeballs on it, nobody's in it, nobody's rolling, and the flow just starts to heat up. And then, you know, you want to hold for the bigger move. A couple of you rolled up in strikes. That was the best thing to do. That was the smartest thing to do, okay? Or you could have just taken the profit off the table if you were satisfied. But you have options, okay? You have options, and that's the name of the game. So what I think we have to pay attention to now, okay, now that this rotation already caught fire, right? You're not going to buy a trip up 3. You're not going to buy Twitter here, all right? You're not going to chase the cruise lines. We want to look towards the other side, believe it or not, all right? The names they've been rotating out of, all right? So, and you probably weren't expecting to hear that from me. Hold on a second. I got to get this off my screen. How do I erase it here? Bear with me, guys. Okay. So what we want to look for, all right, are names that you do enjoy trading, right? The names that were cooked, you want to pay attention to off weakness for trades now. Okay, why? Because automatically now, okay, the bears, what do you think they're going to do? Okay, SPY, which they were short, don't let them fool you, okay, outperformed today, right? The industrials, which we know people were short out the eyeballs, right? Outperformed today, okay? So now, right, all of a sudden the industrials look good. So now the bears are automatically going to go where they see some promise, and that's the NASDAQ. Okay, now they think, all right, here's where my short thesis can play out now. This is where it's at. Forget what I lost all my money on. This is where it's at now, okay? So what we want to look for now is we want to let them get involved, right? Let them make a little bit of money if there's some downside. But if sweepers start coming in and buying these dips, That's our opportunity on the tactical side. Okay, that's our opportunity on the tactical side. All right, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the NASDAQ is going to shoot to new highs, or an MDB or an AYX off a dip is going to shoot directly right back to new highs. All right, but you're going to have that snapback squeeze because the bears are involved. Okay, and those snapback squeezes are solid tactical trades. All right, so we want to continue to look and remain tactical here and let the flow tell us if there's anything larger that's going to manifest out of this. And what I mean by that, if we see Twitter type action in a name that's at a solid spot like a Twitter, okay, that's the stuff maybe we want to swing and give a little leash to. All right, that's the stuff we want to feel more comfortable with and not worry about getting caught. And at the same time, the flow is going to tell us if this market legitimately, has some further upside as a whole, or where that further upside may be. All right, but the spots are important now. All right, they're always important, but more important now than ever. All right, you don't, as much as we like to see the bears get run over and get excited when markets gap up and squeeze, we don't want to get sloppy. We don't want to get sloppy. We don't want to chase. And you gotta understand too. Okay, these rallies have come a long way, right? They have come a long way. Weakness is still our best pal right now. As long as we have that favorable backdrop, weakness is always going to remain our best pal. So if we do happen to get one of these again, okay, the likelihood is it's going to end up setting up another decent spot for a long opportunity. All right, so we don't want to turn this into a bad thing, is what I'm getting at. If the market wants to do that and reel in some bears, right, and keep the riffraff short and the Sharpies remain all in, we don't want to botch that up by getting FOMO and chasing shit just because, the market looks green and you don't feel you own enough. All right. This, I will say to my deathbed, I don't care what the market does, hedge funds chase it. As far as on a risk reward basis, these dips are where the money's made in these trends, right? And a lot of you who have been watching this even more closely this go around agree with me 100%. This is where the juice happens, right? This is where whatever names you end up taking a stab at solid entries, right? Because the likelihood is they were some weakness or a pull. That's where those are your solid trades. Those are your solid trades. Everything else is, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I seem like I want to be quick. I'm in a rush. I got green, boom, I'm yanking it off the table. Where any entries I find off these dips where there's solid sweeper activity into, that's the stuff I'm comfortable with. I'm not worried about the trend reversing and I ran out of time. All right, so that's what, we want to keep in the back of our minds, even if we're going to trade around it. If the market wants to do something like this, okay, it could go straight sideways, could be maybe even a little deeper pull, whatever it may be. Okay, we want to allow that to happen, keep some power to try to hit it when sweepers hit it. Okay, but in the meantime, we could play tactical, and I think the place to look for tactical opportunities is in the stuff that really moves around those hot spots into weakness. Make sense? Does anybody have any questions as far as that is concerned? Everybody following along in a sense? All right, so we don't, like, for example, like, let's say like an NVIDIA, right? because I know a lot of you like to trade. The thing's a machine. Okay. Yeah, right after this, it's hot. You got a niner there reminding you it's hot. Okay, you got pink here reminding you it's hot. All right. But if they happen to sell NVIDIA for market weakness or rotation or whatever it may be, and she comes down here, and all of a sudden, sweepers are going to come in, step in, and buy this, that's a trade, right? That's a trade. If they want to keep this train going like that, let them. That's a trade. All right, but what we don't want to do is we don't want to, get FOMO and chase up here. Let things come to you. Let them come to you. All right? Let the flow, if you're eyeing a name, let it catch sweeper activity. If it goes without it, who cares? You should be at the point now, unless you've been bearish throughout this whole process, okay, which shame on you. There's nothing else I could say about that, okay? But unless you've been bearish, the likelihood is you made some decent money in this rally, right? You want to hold on to a nice chunk of it, and of course, you want to be a lot more selective now. You want to be more selective. All right, but this is where, again, with the information in front of me right now, where I see the next opportunity. I could be wrong, right? Maybe these things don't pull and get sweeper activity, but the way things, shook out today and how they line up, a lot of riffraff who chase these things, they're going to get run over here. Bears are going to start migrating to these things. You're going to have an opportunity, in my opinion, for that snapback squeeze, even if it's not to new highs. That's what I mean. So in other words, what we want to try to avoid, if it's a shallow pullback, okay, you don't want to get greedy and play for that big move, okay? So in other words, let's say weakness, right? Sweepers, snapback, boom. You want to take that money if they give it to you. Where as opposed to the past, right, NVIDIA earlier in the rally, you might have held for a little bit more. Okay, here you can't do it because there's a lot more people that got caught long there. So, and again, I'm more of a sweeper guy. Almost everything I do is sweepers, right? I never pick my own stocks. I'd be dead broke if I did, right? So, that's me. You guys may have other things you look at and may have just as much confidence in technicals or whatever else you look at. But for me, like, the sweepers are going to guide me and, sort of, they're going to be my risk gauge in a sense, right? If there aren't any new setups, fresh names that are getting hit at the right spot that I like, then, the likelihood is I'm not going to really swing much that I'm going to give a leash to, right? I'm going to look to be tactical on everything. All right, but if they find names, maybe they're underbelly names, maybe they're small cap names, that don't have ties to China. Maybe they're financials and tied to the financial sector. Underbelly there could be, who knows? There's a whole big market out there that's been ignored. But as long as they're finding new names at decent spots, I'm going to be willing to fire until we lose Sharpies, we lose that hedge fund support, and the bull bear indicator gets all zero, for Christ's sake. Like I told you guys yesterday, I don't care if you told me that Jesus Christ came to you in your sleep last night and told you the end of the world was coming, and he guaranteed it. I can't get bared up with the bull bear positioning indicator at zero, hedge funds net short, and riffraff all in short. I can't. So I got to look to the market. I got to lean bullshit. I got to lean bullish. And if I have to be tactical, then I got to be tactical. You know, if they're hitting decent names aggressively at decent spots, I'll tuck away a few names. But I'm going to let the sweepers guide me. What do you do with things you've been watching that have already cooled off? I wait for sweeper activity, GD. That's it, basically. I wait for sweeper activity. You know, I let things line up. Like that's, like here, I give you an example, okay? I don't know if you've been following along, but like Twitter, I didn't just say, oh, I want to get long Twitter and then Elliott showed up. I've been saying, you know, Twitter, I would like to get long Twitter for a good portion of this mess. Okay? Problem was the only action it would catch would be Friday spec sweepers that are laying out a diamond premium with 3 days left to expiration. And I couldn't do anything more but just trade it actively. Okay? So I said to myself, listen, I like Twitter, okay? But the market doesn't give a shit what I like. If we see some real deal action come into the name, like Elliott sweepers, because Elliott's involved in the name, you know, then I'll take a shot on a swing. They don't always line up with names I'm watching, looking for sweeper activity, but when they do, I'm ready. You know, so that's what I do. So that's what I would recommend for anything you're watching, GD. Anything. Okay? NVIDIA, you know, any of those names. You know, you see weakness. First, you want the weakness, you want the breather. Then you want to see, because here's what the sweepers do for me, right? I'll give you an example so you understand in layman's terms, okay? You get a pullback here, right? So now, basically, it's like we were saying on the other webinar. It's a 50-50 chance this bounces or breaks down, right? Those are the odds, 50-50. In my opinion, no matter what you look at, it's 50-50. But what if I was to tell you sweepers are buying this dip here? Okay? What if I was to tell you now sharp sweepers are buying this dip here? All right? Elliott sweepers, some real deal sweepers are buying this dip here. What if I was to tell you now you got a squeezometer too with a 3 handle and short-term sentiment flashing bullish all of a sudden? You understand? So those all go into the reason why you allow things to set up. So even if it's just sweeper activity and this thing pulls, okay, if it knocked the odds to 60-40 now, 60% it bounces, 40% it breaks down, that's your edge. You understand? That's your edge. Okay, and like the more that goes into it, right? So 60-40, if just aggressive sweepers buy the dip, okay? Now if sharp action comes into it, AKA Elliott type action, okay? Let's say he bumps it now to 70-30, right? We went over this the last webinar. Now you have a even sharper edge there. You get sentiment behind you, short-term sentiment, as opposed to against you now. What does it bump it up? 75, 80? You understand? So that's the way you got to look at things. That's the way you got to look at things. But it's good, your outlook that you have, it's good to be prepared and have a list of names that you're interested in. What I recommend you don't do, that a lot of people have a tendency to do, okay, is you look for the action. You look for the buying. Let the sweeper activity come to you, okay? What I mean by that is you can be watching NVIDIA, okay? And you guys know in the room, there's plenty of people who do this. Jesus, any action in NVIDIA? Where they know damn well if there was any sort of decent sweeper activity in NVIDIA, I'd be posting it. But they asked anyway. Not once, not twice, but 10 times, right? So they want me to tell them, Oh yeah, well, there was 100 contracts bought weeklies. Oh shit, good, all right, I'm in. Right? They force it. They force it. Where the best is, the best action comes to you all the time. The best action always comes to you. Always. It's good to have a list of names because it takes some of the legwork and the process out of the equation. Right? So, oh shit, Twitter caught some aggressive activity. I looked at Twitter already. I like the setup there. You're ready for it. But when you're trying to force the thesis on yourself, you know what I'm talking about, Nick. You know what I mean? Where, and that's our edge, guys, off the action. Our edge is not when NVIDIA is seeing riffraff call volume in weeklies. There's call buyers all day long, every day. We're not paying attention to that, right? We're looking for the most aggressive action. If it's sharp action, even better, right? We're looking for the cream of the crop. We're looking for the players that win more than they lose. We know there are a lot more losers than winners in the option market as a whole. That's a given. So we don't want to look at any call buying. So that's why always that's the best advice I could give to you. If you have a watch list and a group of names, you wait for action to come to you. Some people, I know a lot of people that like to trade a certain basket of names all the time. But what's difficult for them when they try to apply sweeper activity as an edge in that, they don't have the patience to wait around for real action in that name. So what do? They play Amazon and Tesla every damn day off any sweep, no matter where it is. Maybe Amazon's a name you like to play. Amazon doesn't catch a lot of action, unfortunately. But that's the beauty of it. When there's a legitimate sweeper in Amazon, a lot of times you just go to the window and pick up your money. You don't sweat it out. The same with Tesla, when sweepers were rare in Tesla. Now every day there's $1 million sweep. Every day. So when they're rare, you even have a larger edge, but it takes a lot of patience to hang around. All right, so that's basically to sum up everything I've said so far here, because I know it's a lot. If you can, pay attention to the initial sweeper activity off weakness, okay, at the right spots. That's going to be the best risk-reward swing positions out there. All right, for tactical stuff, actively trading stuff, you want to look at all the stuff that's been hot into weakness and look for sweeper activity there for a trade. And that's the extent of it. Elliott, I'm referring to, no, not Elliott Waves, Elliott Management, the activist. Joey, everybody, that's one of the most difficult things to do, Joe. It's not easy. It's one of the most important things in this game. Get better at patience. Everybody has to work on that continuously. As a matter of fact, I don't know anybody, because maybe I know just degenerates like myself. I don't know anybody who could just sit around and wait for a sweet spot setup, because we want the action. But in the meantime, while you're waiting for that sweet setup, you got to be smart about things. You got to be smart about things. So while you're waiting for a better setup, you get a pullback in NVIDIA with some sweeper activity. It's just a trade, and that's it. Don't try to make it more than that. Don't try to size up and continue to buy dips. You got to find something to occupy yourself, but at the same time, you want to be a net winner. You know, you don't mind losing. You don't mind your hit ratio going down with the other stuff, but you don't want to blow yourself up. You know, and the trades that you're going to get paid on are the ones that you're buying off market dips where sentiment lines up, the flow lines up, the spot lines up, everything lines up. You know, everything lines up. At least for myself, I can tell you from experience, those are always my best winners, always. My biggest problem with those are holding on to them long enough, especially when I have time. That's where I'm a debacle. You know, that's where I'm awful. I don't know any other way to put it. I have no strategy, nothing to make it. Just a lot of what I look at, like sentiment, sweeper activity, when things line up, I see clearly. You know, I have a plan. I know exactly, you know what I mean, what I'm doing. I'm not scared of losing because I have no problem losing money when things line up. I get lost on selling upside. Like there's no rhyme or reason to what I do. You know, I try to keep it simple to where if it's just a trade, I'm locking in profit. I'm not even questioning it. And if I'm looking for more reward, basically I'm just throwing a dart at a number that I think is feasible, as scary as that may sound. But that's, you know, that's one of the toughest parts of this game. Selling upside is extremely difficult. You know, because downside, if you have a stop loss, that's your stop loss. Boom. There's nothing complicated about it, right? Nothing complicated about that. If your stop loss is your option going to zero, case closed. There's nothing to think about. But selling on the upside can drive you insane. You know, it can drive you insane. But, you know, you look through even this rally, there's been a lot of big winners. But, you know, the stuff you could have confidence in, you know, off of sweeper activity or the stuff that really caught some aggressive activity at nice spots. And that's where you really didn't have to stress too much. You're going to run into a Boeing where, again, my spot was decent. You know, right here, there was nothing wrong with it. That's why I've held through all this. You know, I have time, but you can't avoid it. There's going to be names like this. There's going to be losers. There's going to be, no matter what you do. But, you know, you look through the winners that all caught missile activity, you know, names that I didn't even own that have just been incredible. But that's the story, all right? We'll see, you know, now with the NASDAQ basically just reversing, I still think end of day sentiment might be on the hotter side, if not, you know, full-fledged sell signal based on the Dow and the S&P, you know, but that doesn't really tell us anything different as far as a plan is concerned. You know, look for solid spots. Anybody have any names that caught their attention today, or they've been eyeing and waiting for some good-looking sweeper activity? Yeah, like this D-Dog. Yeah, you can't do anything here. You can't do anything here. What you want to see at a D-Dog, you got to see a pull, or you're going to see some lengthy consolidation here. This is hot as a pistol. You cannot, listen, I cannot, on a risk-reward basis here, I cannot, you know what I mean? All the sweeper activity this thing caught, I own this thing. I bought and sold it. I don't even want to tell you the price I sold it at. You know, up here now, it's not even a thought. So what I would look for personally for a trade, weakness, and they hit that weakness aggressively. And then play for like a snapback. You know what I mean? Yeah, Twilio is in the same camp. You know, all these things, some of these things that just exploded are all in the same camp. So same thing, same thing. I would give it a little more time, let it see some weakness. And, you know, you want to see one of two things. You either want to see call buying just dry up, because a lot of these things we're catching call buying every single day. You know, you don't know who's rolling. You don't know what's clean anymore. There's no edge out of the flow anymore. You know, so you either want to see the flow go dead, or you want to see some real weakness, and then, you know, either a good looking sweep or multiple sweeps into that weakness and play for that bounce. You know, maybe you get another day of weakness there tomorrow. And it's still bullish as all hell. I mean, the stock exploded. But tough up here in the pink. So see, like this is your risk here in the pink. Okay? Right? So you see, continue to go higher. All right? But if you're buying Twilio here, all right, and you have no intentions of selling this, so basically you had 3-4 days before it reversed, and then boop, it actually went lower than where you paid. So that's what happens with the pink here, okay? What usually happens, you see this pink? That doesn't mean it's going to stop like a clock and not go higher. It's not a crystal ball. What usually happens is it may go higher, but there's going to be a wash that wipes out all this pink. And you're playing musical chairs. Is there enough upside before that wash comes? You'd rather wait for the wash. You know what I mean? So wait for this. And then if there happens to be buying into this, you got to trade. That's the way I would play Twilio, D-Dog, or anything that looks like that and has Pink Panther on it. If it has Pink Panther, you know, I can't bless it. Yeah, banks, you know, listen, the banks were just sitting there and they looked interesting. The problem was it's hard to get, you know, it's hard to get bulled up on these things. Even if I told you they were going to go, it's hard to get bulled up on them. You know? But think of it, look, like this is nothing. This is nothing. Look, it did this here. Had a rally here. This is nothing yet. You know, these things didn't go anywhere yet. So if they're for real, okay, if this mine's for real, what's going to happen is you get a little more up, and then you're going to have some weakness. And then you're going to see sweepers attack that weakness if this rally's for real. You know, that's what you're going to see, right? So you'll see, you know, the hedge funds that have no exposure, right? You know, the bull bear indicator that's at 0, showing no exposure. If they want to own the banks, that's where they're going to buy them, on little pulls. And that's where you'll see a missile come into JP Morgan. You know, so that's how these would set up or flow off from here. You know, Peloton, that too, right? That needs a little bit of weakness, or she pulled already. Oh, look at that. So there you go. All right, Peloton, you got the ball rolling already. Peloton, you got the ball rolling already. Ideal for a little more than a snapback trade, you get weakness, and then she does this. And then you see sweeper activity come into that at some point. And that would be tipping you off to a possible move higher. Right? But, you know, this is why you wanted to avoid buying this. Exactly why you wanted to avoid buying this, right? We were talking about this last night. This looks like this, right? And what do people see? They see consolidation rip. So they're like, oh, consolidation. But they're not taking into account that this thing's come a long way. You got a Niner and Pink Panther here. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. So the likelihood is you get that shakeout before it goes higher. And that could be what it's in the process of. But yeah, you got the ball rolling here, Peloton, without a doubt, John. CGC, yeah, I can't chase these. I can't chase these now. I know they're hot. That Tilray's been really hot, flow-wise, too. I don't have much. I couldn't buy these things when they were dead catching flow. I can't chase them. I can't chase them. Cron, really? It's that ugly? Let me see. Oh, well, it's close. Tilray's pretty ugly too. Tilray's pretty ugly too. So yeah, you're gonna need a dip in this. I mean, there's so much riffraff money in these things, man. All Robinhood and everybody and their mother is in this thing, in these weed stocks. They're tough. You got a lot, you know how much selling you have? The one plus is you got potential short squeeze, and that's what you're seeing now. But any strength, look at potential supply in this thing. And a lot of bag holders betting on the weed story, These aren't traders getting in and out. People buying cron, tucking it away type shit. So yeah, I don't have an opinion on these weed names. Again, outside of a quick trade off action. But that's been the case for a while when they're down, up, sideways. There's too much riffraff money in it. What else? Anybody have, there were several names that I had my eye on. I probably should have just pulled the trigger, like CVS I was interested in, but maybe I get another opportunity. It reversed a little bit today. But, maybe I get another opportunity out of this. Caught a November bet. TAL caught some nice action. It's China related is the problem. But if you're going based, we spoke about this last night. If you're going based on just sweeper activity and spot, TAL was perfect. The problem is it's a China name, and the risk that comes with that. Levi was legit. I passed on it because it was a retailer. I really didn't want to own any retail because the sector as a whole was hot, but this is more of a rotation retail name. But yeah, solid action, couple days in a row now. I wouldn't chase, but if you're in it, good stuff. I passed on it. I didn't own too much retail in this rally. The one I owned that I made a decent hit on was this Stitch Fix, which I wouldn't play now, of course. And there were a couple others I traded, but nothing option-wise, equity here and there. This one caught some nice action. TPX, Temper Sealy, caught a real nice bet. You had some earnings getting away of a few, like TJX, but I didn't own too much retail. I think KSS caught a bet recently. I was at a decent spot. I think they were Jan calls with some time. Yeah, MMM I wasn't at the desk, but I saw it catch a bet. I'm going to look at it tonight, John. The reason I didn't rush to look at it is because green and a gap up, So, but I'll look at the bet and see how clean it was and all. Yeah, exactly. Up a bit today on the gap up, but I'll definitely take a look. I saw it catch a sweep. Yeah, there could be follow through. There could be follow through. I mean, these things have gone nowhere, aside from today. I'm hoping, the couple I'm in have a little more follow through, like Trip and Boeing and stuff like that. But they're likely going to move all in a pack now, right? Even the airlines, how'd they end up today? All right, even they close strong. But the true tell on all these things is going to be when they reverse. So let's say like to get me to buy airlines is going to be tough, but I'm just giving an example. Delta, or here, even better, because I know you guys are looking at it. The cruise lines, all right, like RCL caught some nice action. So let's say RCL has a little more follow through up, and then you get a little weakness or a pause like this. You want to see if sweepers buy into that. You know, that's what you'd be looking for to give you indication that this is something different than, you know, this. You know, so you want to see buyers commit on weakness. 6. Oh, nice move there. Yeah, 6 had some action too. These are all in the same camp, Chris. Honestly, I put them all in the same camp. I think what you want to see is off selling. You want to see if they buy these things. I think that applies to all these reflation, rotation names. You know, AMD is interesting. Like you want, like this is the example I was giving before. Like AMD, you want to see some legit action. Like we know AMD. When they want AMD, okay, they can sweep the living daylights out of it, right? Or, I mean, the size, you don't even ask a question whether they're buying it. It sticks out, you know, like the Twitter example. You know, you're not going to have to ask me. You're going to know when they're really buying it. Like, that's what you really want to see here. Or out of this is beautiful consolidation here. You know, this is beautiful. Like you even want it to come down to the lower end of this range. Would be even better. Right? You know what I'm talking about, trade. And then even worst case, you have a trade back, even if it stays in this, you have a trade back to, you know, like a mean reversion in that chop zone. But if they hit it hard and there's some real buying in it, you know, you can make a bet that maybe they're going to bust it out. Because this is nice. Like, you couldn't draw it up any better off this niner. You couldn't draw it up any better. All right, nice rip. Everyone's bullish. They got to wear them out. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. Micron. Yeah, Micron, I haven't really looked at. I've been following it. Yeah. Wow, Micron looks decent too. These semis look decent. You got this China overhang thingy around them right now. And if we could see, you know, that's what I'm saying. If sweepers get aggressive in these things, especially now with this China noise around it, that would be a good sign. Because that's why these things are here. You know that. Semis, yeah, there's nothing better than semis when you got a market rally. Nothing. They haven't participated because of this whole riff with China. You know, if sweepers tell us the time is right, just like they did the last Huawei nonsense. Remember with Huawei? When they were sweeping the daylight straight out of that TSM and the SWKS and all those names? Right into the heat of the Huawei noise. That's what we want to pay attention to. You know, and it's going to be obvious. It's going to be obvious. It's not, you see, we see Micron sweeps, but they're pikers, right? Little weeklies. Like you want to see them lighted up. You want to see missiles. And like if the non-believer crowd out there wants exposure, okay, I mean, I gotta believe this is where they're coming. You know, considering how hot everything else in tech is, these semis cooled off nicely. Yeah, remember that flow, John, with AMD? Like AMD, there's no hiding it when they want to buy it. You know, there's no hiding it. And a lot of times you'll see like a size sweep or two before the flow is going to heat up in like an AMD. So you'll see somebody come in and like bomb an October line out of nowhere. You know, and it'll just be, that'll be the only buyer on that day. And then all of a sudden, a couple of days later, the Uzi action comes in. But these semis look good, you know. Doesn't mean that they're ready to go now, but they look good. If they can catch some sweeper activity, they look good. And boy, if you were to tell me we were going to be at this point in the rally with the NASDAQ here and the semis are at a nice spot, can you imagine, Tree? You'd think I was nuts if I told you that. Oh, that's the one right now, Patrick. That's the one. You know why? The whole Rahway stuff going on, they benefit from the MRVL, Patrick. That's why this thing got hot here, while the rest of them didn't. And this thing was overdue to move, you know? Every time it get up right in this neck of the woods. MCHP, I like that one. Let me see this, MCHP. Oh, wow, she's creeping higher too. I like this MCHP. It's been good to me, this MCHP. INSG, that's the 5G play, right? Yeah. I mean, you don't want to chase it, even though it's not much. What is it, a buck? It had a nice move on Friday. But yeah, looks good. Looks good. Yeah, especially if you were eyeing the name. You know what I mean? If you, let's say, owned it or missed it. I know quite a few of you owned it, this INSG. You know, and then you sold it or you didn't want to rebuy it because of this pink. You know, here's where you want to start looking. So, but don't chase, you know, you don't want to chase, let it come to you. But Friday was the spot for even a trade. Friday was a nice spot. What else we got here? LRCX, that's one of my favorite semis. I love this thing. If I could have my way, John, I'd take an LRCX missile. That's what I would want. LRCX can get choppy when she's consolidating. But when she wants to go, John, oh my God. There's nothing better. When this thing gets hot, I don't know if you remember coming out of that December Christmas correction we had right here. One of the first names sweepers hit in the semis was LRCX. Look at this. So yeah, if this thing catches action, without a doubt, I wouldn't even think twice. Wouldn't even think twice. Healthcare, yeah, there's quite a few names. Like here's another example of a name that's setting up that I'm waiting for action. Abbott. You know, caught weeklies. I think they might have closed today. Me and Frank were talking about it this morning. They might have flipped them this morning. They bought weeklies expiring this week. But if Abbott catches something a couple of months out, you know, some decent sweeper activity, this is setting up nice. Same thing, off the pink, no chase, wait for a breather, here's your breather. So yeah, yep, or the whole group, at least a lot of them. CNC looks amazing. CNC looks great too. We just need sweeps here, that's all. There was one little December sweep, I think, in CNC, that's about it. But this is another name, like they tattoo this thing when they want it. Right off a niner too. Nice breather. Healthy. Looks good. He pumped it today? Up here? Yeah, I mean, I loved BCRX, the bird flu, but up here now, I wouldn't spilled milk, in my opinion. You know, you get if it finds the cure for COVID, obviously it doesn't matter, but the train has left the station. This thing was sitting dead right here, and they opened the largest position of open interest in it since then, and it catches action almost every day now. Oh, last Thursday. I mean, the good thing is it's breathing nicely here, but you're talking about from a buck and change, $2 to 5 and change now. So it's not my type of thing now, Sarah. It's old news. Old news. Oh, Jim, you're doing that on purpose, aren't you, Jim? You're trying to ruin my night? Wow. I can't believe it. A double. 30 to 60 BHVN. You believe this one, Tree? Have you looked at it? BHVN, not once, twice. Didn't you own it the first time with me, Tree? BHVN? Or maybe you didn't. Somebody had it with me. A couple people had it with me. But I played it twice. And twice it was a nice trade. But, oh, what could have been? What could have been? What could have been? You had it for a trade, right? Yeah. Well, that's it for me, too. A double. Yeah, but, Jim, it's a no touch up here now. At 30 points higher, 30 points higher, it's a no touch. What else? Any new biotechs? Anybody eyeing any biotechs that haven't exploded yet? Why is everyone giving me stocks that we either bought or sold and have erupted already? CAPR. I never even heard of this. Nah, this one too exploded. Cara. Cara? You got the right symbol there, Dave? mRNA. I guess if it catches sweeper activity, even for a trade. But yeah, better here than where it was. Is it a fraud? Is that, oh, why? Because they came out with that, really? Isn't this Fauci's baby? Oh my God, are you serious, Stuart? Fauci's baby. Wow. Yeah, so again, if you're eyeing the mRNA, you did the right thing, not chasing Pink Panther, obviously. You got the dip. You saw the type of sweeps it would catch. That's what you would be looking for. If they don't sweep it, I mean, Stewart's saying they're a sham. Be careful. These biotechs, you always got to be careful. But Cara is the symbol. All right, let's see. Cara. That's not the symbol. Cara? Wait, maybe I did it wrong. I don't have a Cara either. Cala? There we go. Cala. Oh, yeah, this thing's hot, though. Hot. CODX. This one was hot once upon a time, wasn't it? Ooh. It's funny. We haven't seen. Hey, you got a breather off the niner there. We haven't seen any new biotechs. We haven't seen any new ones catch sweeper activity yet. Maybe that's a sign they need to breathe and chill out a little. Yeah, the underbelly names, definitely, especially if they're at solid spots. You just don't want to chase. You just don't want to chase. like we had those Sono last week. We had the EGHT, all those stuff, well, these were October's, but EB, so you just want to EVBG. I know this one from somewhere. Oh, this was a hot one? Wait, EVBG, right? Oh, yeah. Yep. This is software? Nice. So she already started cooling. Very nice. You might even get downside niners out of this. Not that far away. Look, niner high here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Bingo. But this is nice that it already got the process started. Very nice. Definitely. Did this thing ever catch action? I don't even remember this EVBG. I've heard of it, though. Maybe because you guys have been mentioning it to me. Yeah, these things, they need breathers, but they've started. ATVI, Take Two, EA holding up better than them. ATVI, and these things could catch action, so they definitely are on watch. Catch one of these, beak. Sweeperoo, and bounce like a Spalding. That's what you want. See what I mean? See how these things, how quick all of a sudden they're not too far away of being back in play for trades again. They were on my do not touch list. It feels like a day ago, but the cooling process already started in a lot of these things. Which one, Tree? Oh, yeah. And don't you like that other one? I was thinking of you when the action came in. Honeywell? That got a couple decent sweeps, too. Today and, was it Friday? The same day as RTX. Yeah, same thing. I sound like a broken record. You got to be careful chasing rallies in this thing. That's all, in these things. Because you could get stuck. Roku, just hasn't. Roku could catch some big size. And there hasn't been real players in Roku. A lot of weekly spec stuff. But it looks decent. Looks decent. It's definitely not cooked. Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Especially if you see, they come in and they hit this thing with $400,000 or $500,000 sweeps. It catches that from time to time. It hasn't in a while. I don't know why. There'll be weekly sweepers and stuff like that you can trade off of. But like for a swing position, this thing could catch good looking action. Oh yeah, they got some headaches. Add tech sales down. Ads. Yeah, so eventually it'll be factored in, and there'll be some buying to come into it. You got to be patient. That's all. Just trade it. If you see some sweeper activity, spec action, if it's red, look for a trade, a bounce. Tesla's tough. Tesla's tough for me now. There's $1 million sweep every day in Tesla. Every day. Multiple sweeps. The only thing that I like, I don't even play it, so I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, but if I was to play Tesla on the option side, because I know a lot of you guys like to play it, off weakness only when they sweep it. Because it moves. You could get a nice bounce out of it. But you chase green, I don't care sweepers or not, you get stuck in this stuff. And this thing has been catching sweeper activity. Tesla, you don't understand. Tesla, we used to, when we saw a sweeper in Tesla, our jaws used to drop. It was like a dinosaur, a unicorn. So rare. But when they swept it, it was gold. Now, there's so many big players in this thing. Yeah, remember that? $180, John. So that's what I'm saying. Like now, I guess after this is where the action got hot, right? And there was a ton of sweeper activity. Remember all that action? Since then, even the drop, there's just been a lot of size. Right, and then you get the CEO with his shenanigans. So I just, I follow it closely because I know a lot of you guys like to trade it actively. When they're selling in this thing and it catches those nice size weekly sweeps, it creates momentum and you could get a trade out of it. So that's what I would look for there for now. And hope the flow dies down. There's just so many active players in it. And shorts. You know how many people got, like you're talking, John, 180. You know how many people were short there? You know how many people shorted the whole trip and still to this day? Yeah, exactly. So what I mean by weakness, like, for example, when I'm talking about these tactical trades, I always like to buy weakness because it can shift the momentum. All right. So let's say you like to day trade Tesla. Okay. If Tesla's up 9, I would just cross it off my screen for the day. Don't chase it. Because what's the sweeper telling us? Somebody's bullish into +9 Tesla. It could be a short getting squeezed. It could, it doesn't tell us anything, any change in trend. But when Tesla is down 8-10 points, and all of a sudden you see that weekly sweeper activity come in, it can create momentum and get shorts to cover, and you can get a trade out of it. You understand? So there's moves in between, even though this thing hasn't gone anywhere. Okay, if you played off weakness, sweeps off weakness, these bounces are profitable. You make money in them. Like you see, like a day like this, if there's sweepers into weakness, there's a trade in it. So that's what I mean on the tactical or day trading scheme of things. I like to buy red because the sweepers shift the momentum. Right. So for stuff like that, like all-time high plays and stuff like that, I focus on the spot. You hear me talk about a lot. So that's where all the stuff I swing, I don't ever swing trade any short dated stuff option wise. I usually play the equity when I'm doing that. The stuff I swing calls on are the stuff that you're talking about, potential all-time high plays. So that's where I look like for Twitter, right? Solid action, special action at the right spot. Trip, sharp action into the lows, like that sort of thing. McDonald's, bazooka into the lows. So it's either into lows or into consolidation, but there's no momentum in it. Usually when I'm swinging, it's a name that hasn't moved yet at all. Everything else I trade that word again, tactically. So in other words, I get a rip in it and I take it. Where, like you're saying, I forgot who asked the question, but like you're saying, even though I don't do it nowhere near as much as I should, this is the stuff that I give a leash to. Like Twitter, when I bought it, I didn't think I'd get a trade like this out of it this quick. I thought I'd be in it. And I have a tendency of doing that. The stuff that I'm in holding longer, I end up holding for longer. Does that make sense? I'm more patient with. But stuff like Twitter that goes as soon as I buy it, even though I have time, I end up taking a nice profit off the table. That's the complete opposite of what you're supposed to do. Because usually the stuff that goes right away, that's the strongest stuff. You know what I mean? So you're not supposed to do what I do. But when they give me a nice profit in a short amount of time, you know, I have a tendency of always locking that in. You know why? Because I ask myself the question, all right, I got to be okay with Twitter chilling out now here and me giving back profit. If I'm okay with that, then I hold it. If that's going to bother me, then I got to take it or roll or do something. You understand? That's the question I always ask myself. I always get the same answer, but that's the question I always ask myself. Like, I'll give you my rationale here. SE, okay? Everybody who knows me knows this is my baby, okay? Jan calls at the perfect spot. It was a beautiful thing. I couldn't draw it up any better, okay? I couldn't draw it up any better. So what happened was it ran into this, it was going to run into this niner here, right? So I asked myself the simple question. Am I okay with giving back these profits? I got time. I got Jan calls, so I'm okay with it. You know, it's not the end of the world, but am I going to be pissed if I give back these profits off a pull here? All right. If you told me it was going to just go straight sideways like this without a seller in the world, maybe I would have changed my mind, but I didn't know that. So I sold it, you know, went sideways here, no sellers to be found. And then after that, once they got me out, that's all, case closed. Bing, 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 bing. This is Tree. This is there are not too many that bother me. You know, I like BHVN. I see it. I curse it out. I don't. SE bothers me. This irritates me the most. I don't know why I torture myself. I see people talking about it. You know, I see people looking to buy it up here. They're buying it. They're making money with it. It drives me nuts. Did you see the guy who rolled today in SE? He closed, I think it was $5 million, $6 million worth of the calls and rolled up 600 grand. That's how you do it. No, I would have never held. You're 100% right. Well, I don't know though. I don't know. If I held through this niner, I would have held through earnings. Yeah, I would have, because I had Jan calls, Hippo. You know, I had Jan calls. If you're going to buy something out 2 quarters, you're going to have to hold through earnings. I held through trip earnings. You know what I mean? So stuff you're going to go out with time, you're going to have to hold through earnings. There's no, otherwise, why would you go out in time? But with a profit, if that's what you're referring to, with a profit like this, would I have held through earnings? You know, I don't know. So you make a good point there. Anyway, what's the difference? I'm long gone, and the stock keeps going higher. So it's case closed. Yeah, SE, they're filing into it like they got the cure for cancer. You know, this is a big hedge fund favorite too. Maybe it doesn't, eventually, maybe it doesn't end well, you know? But, you know, like I said, this has been my baby from initial activity, guys. This is back here. Okay, one of the first names to catch sharp action in this correction. Right over there. I didn't even know what the hell they were. I see Singapore. I'm like, what the hell is this thing? That they're opening up bull risk reversals in like it's the best thing since sliced bread. You had 3,000 shares at 13. Holy camoles. It is torture. Yeah, who got me hung up on this? Enough with this SC. Enough. Yeah, so guys, listen, moral of the story, there's a lot of things already cooling, okay? There's some decent setups out there. So just let the flow come to us, right? Don't force shit. Nice and easy. And, you know, again, as long as Sharpies are doing their thing and the other guys are on the other side of the trade, weakness, we're not afraid of weakness. You know, we're not afraid of weakness. As far as the Gamma crew is concerned, you guys, right? I've been telling you guys, crash risk is nowhere near the picture, nowhere even close right now, even with some more weakness from here. I don't know, Tree, how clean they are. That's the problem. I got to look into it a little more and see open interest tomorrow. But that's the problem, you know, up here. And you know, when you see like VXX puts here now, it's a lot tougher. It's not the same type of signal like if it was green. You know what I mean? But I'll take a peek and look at open interest, and I'll give you guys a heads up if it rolls or not. I'm curious too. But it could be just rolling out of position, you know? All right, guys. Anybody who's new, wallstreetjesus.com if you're looking for any further information. All right. Otherwise, good luck the rest of the way. Be patient. Let the action come to you. Stay bullish, my friends. I'll see you guys later.